This is Jets FM on AOFN as the Jets drop another one to the Patriots 30-27 on Monday Night Football. But the Jets continue to play hard. They continue to give it their best. They are just not there yet. The talent isn't there yet. But finally, we get an opportunity to see most of the key draft picks from Joe Douglas's first draft. And for the first time this season, we have a lot to be, or at least a little bit to be, whether we want to say excited or at least satisfied at this point. Still a way to go. 7 more games. I think that's it, right? 7 more games. So,
Yep, 7 more games.
And that'll give us hopefully a better gauge for these rookies the rest of the season. But Jan, how's everything going? Because I think all in all, it worked out perfectly. The Jets, I think they played pretty well. The rookies played well. The young kids played well. The new kids played well, and they still lost. So we didn't lose our draft status.
True. The tank for Trevor, if you're going with that, is still in full effect. Like you said, we got to see some pieces on the field together that we really haven't seen a lot of this year, including offensively, especially in the receiver core. Got to see a couple of the rookies that we have not yet seen. Hall actually was obviously activated. Ashton Davis played a key role in the game. So, obviously on the downside, besides the loss, if you view it that way, is clearly, a little concerned about the injury to Mekhi Becton. Right? So that's, to me, the real piece of the puzzle that came out of that game that you have to be slightly concerned about. But I guess from a beneficial perspective, the bye week hopefully gives him some time to heal. And they said it's a chest injury. Doesn't look to be muscular. He had an issue catching his breath, but they don't think it's lung or heart related. So trying to put those together and all those balls, I'm not sure how you don't have a muscle injury, but you have an issue where you're having an issue with breathing, but it's not a lung or a heart issue. So I'm not quite sure how that all coalesces together, but more probably should come out in the next week and a half. You just have to hope that it's not a serious injury. An early indication is that it's not. But anytime you hear that a player had a difficult time of breathing, and especially a guy who is your future franchise tackle, little concerns bubbles start to raise up.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, though, that, again, it's out of our hands, but we can just hope everything goes well. You can get hurt any week in the NFL and be lost for the season. I think the important thing is, and I think I think we can give him even a red shirt for the injuries because he didn't get an opportunity to work with all the other rookies classes the way that you want to be work. It's not just about the talent and your ability to get the most out of it because you have all the practice time, but it's also your endurance. This is why we're seeing so many injuries. We're seeing with the veterans, we're seeing it with the rookies. Let's just hope that's all this has been for Becton has been, well, I didn't get a chance to play with these guys all and work in the conditioning program that normal rookies do. And starting next year, I'm going to be a 16 game a year kind of guy. And that's what we have to hold out hope for because he's too good of a player for us to be dealing with an injury prone type of guy. So I'm willing to give him a red shirt this year.
Yeah, I don't know if we get look. It all depends on what caused the injury and what the extent of the injury is. Right. This sounds as if it's a fluky one-off kind of an injury as opposed to the shoulder injury, which is something that could happen. But the positive aspect of that previous injury is there doesn't seem to be any lasting impact. He's been able to practice and play once he came back and had enough time to heal. And even if he's playing through something, he's shown the ability to play through it without seeing a decline in his play.
Okay, so the Jets, let's go through this game, and we'll start with another good drive that unfortunately resulted in a field goal, but it was one of 2 bad calls the Jets had in the game, which actually led to points, which could have been the difference in the game. That was the bad non-call on J.C. Jackson. He clearly grabbed Perryman in the end zone. They didn't give the Jets first down at the goal line. So instead, the Jets settled for 3 on that drive. Patriots looked really good with their offense with the first drive of both halves. But in between that, the Jets did a really good job as far as their offense was concerned. And the one thing, though, that we need to see, we've talked about this before with Sam Darnold, is it's nice to see Joe Flacco throwing these bombs to Perryman because that's what Perryman's here for. Perryman was here to be the big play guy. So they can't just take Perryman out because there's Crowder and there's Mims. So this is what we wanted to see with these three guys in at the same time. But and it's nice to see Flacco hitting Perryman with these shots, but Flacco's really good at that. Sam is not. So the next step is to get Sam in there for 6-7 games the rest of the season, play with these receivers, and show us that he can hit those passes as well.
Yeah, I mean, we said last 2 years that the issue with Darnold at times, and more frequently than not, has been his inability to throw the ball deep or hit guys deep, right? He would have Robbie Anderson open at times, and he would either under or overthrow him. He connected with Anderson clearly a substantive number of times, but not enough based upon the frequency in which he's open. And Perriman was brought in to stretch the defense. Mims is similar, and the hope is that you stretch the defense and then you find the guys open in those intermediate routes, which is what Crowder does so well. And the hope we had was that Herndon would do that as well, though this year is clearly looming to be another bust year for Herndon. But we saw signs from Mims, again, positive signs. We saw what Perriman can do, including the 50-yard touchdown where he was wide open. I mean, Crowder had a great catch for the touchdown in terms of dragging the feet in the corner of the end zone, and a great throw by Flacco there right before the half. So there were components of the game that looked good, even defensively. However, we also saw aspects. I think Jakobi Meyers is still running free in the middle of the field because I think Cam Newton was literally playing pitch and catch with Meyers a substantive portion of the game with 13 catches for about 160 yards. So he found his clearly targeted receiver. The defense did some things well, but we also saw, as you saw, they collapsed in the fourth quarter by giving up 13 points to take the loss.
All right, after the 50-yard touchdown that the Jets went up 10-7, that was a 93-yard drive. Again, 50 on the touchdown pass. Patriots had a 4th and 1 at the Jets 41, but Fatukasi, who had a really good football game, bulldozed Andrews into James White, caused the fumble. Jets get the stop. So with Quinnen Williams out, Fatukasi stepped up in a big way. And this is what we've been talking about. The Jets are putting together a really talented defensive line. Franklin Myers, Fatukasi, Quinnen Williams looks like he's going to be a star. Phillips is out for the year. Zuniga finally get an opportunity to play. So hopefully we'll start seeing him make some plays over the last half of the season. But that's the part of the defense the Jets are not going to have to worry about this offseason.
No, I mean, again, we'd also still like to see a little bit more of a pass rushing end. Would be a nice thing to have.
But again, the trick is going to be, are we going to play a 4-3 or a 3-4?
Right.
That's the thing. Because if we're going to play a 4-3, you're absolutely right. We need some defensive ends. If we're going to play a 3-4, we need some linebackers.
Correct. And we need linebackers that can rush. And we need linebackers in general. Which,
we do. You're right about that.
Mosey's out for the year. They traded Williamson. Really, they're a little light at the linebacker. So that's going to be an area of need that they focus on. And also, I think what's been an area of need that you and I spoke about last year and this year is still the defensive backfield, right? That's kind of
absolutely
still a major issue. I mean, Pierre Desir has been Pierre Desir has been an unmitigated bust, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
This year, I mean, he's had a horrific year. I look, I'm curious to see what Hall is going to do. He's gotten back in clearly. He's got the physical aspect he has to get caught up in, obviously the mental aspect, which comes with being on the field and recognizing schemes and scenarios. We got to see a little bit of Ashtyn Davis and a great pass rush. Can't lower the crown of your helmet, though. It was a little questionable in terms of the call.
We understood why they called it. It's tough for the ref. They if they saw the replay, they wouldn't have called it.
Yep. So, but it was good to see him do something, and I still have hopes for him. I know a lot of people have been questioning in terms of his capability, but he is a very talented guy. How he's utilized, I think that's one of those things for the next 6-7 weeks that really is something that I'm going to look at is how does Greg Williams use Davis and Hall in this defense down the stretch?
Well, I think they're going to play, as far as Davis, I think the deal now is, listening to Denard, I think the deal is now that they want to play Davis at strong safety. Basically, Davis is going to take over the Jamal Adams role. And Marcus May is going to go back to playing the free safety role, which he plays best. Now, of course, May made some really good plays playing the Jamal Adams way, but that's also a very physical job. And May he did a good job, but he's just a better free safety. So yeah, Davis is going to take over the role now of Jamal Adams, and he made the one hit, like you said. Now we need to make sure that he makes the hits that don't get called, Like you
Hmm.
said, even if it's a bad call, don't put it in the hands of the refs to make a bad call. But it's a promising start because he played every snap.
No, agreed. And look, we were waiting to see him on the field. He showed he can be a difference maker. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, even though they're going to be slotted into these roles, whether or not Williams uses the flexibility to switch these guys based upon their skill
It's
set,
good
right? To
that they
kind of
can be
create some
switched.
different
Yeah.
looks,
Yeah.
create some different looks for the
Yep.
offense in terms of it. But as we said before the season started, cornerback was an area of need, and
And it still
cornerback looks to be
is.
an even bigger area of need given what we've seen so far.
Yeah. Poole and Austin and Hall are the only corners that we
Yep.
would say that will be back next year. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm quite curious to see. Look, I'm throwing Hall in the deep end and utilizing him a ton to kind of see
Yep.
what you got there. What how quickly can he drink from the fire hose over the next 6-7 weeks, and what can he show you as to what his role should be possibly into next year?
And we already saw that because he already took snaps away from Desir in this game. He played 39 snaps to Desir's 43. So
Yeah.
that wasn't because of an injury. So that's a good
Nope.
start. That means he can stay healthy. We're going to see a lot of Bryce Hall, which is what we need to see. And even if Bryce Hall and Bless Austin prove that they could be big time contributors for us at the cornerback spot, we still definitely need 2 top corners, whether it's through free agency or a high draft pick. And that's even if Austin and Hall look good and Poole is re-signed, because we just have no
Agreed.
depth. So
Agreed. Absolutely. I mean, and look, the point is this year we have cap room available. They just need to spend it wisely.
Yep.
There are lots of areas of need. That being a crying need, and we and you and I both know the impact of a good cornerback on the defense overall, and how much of a difference maker that person can be. So that has to be a primary area of focus in free agency or the draft this year.
yeah, the back 7 for sure. We need, and again, whether we play a 3-4 or a 4-3, the back 7 is going to be. We need to add 2. We need really to add 4
Four
players
overall,
in the
I
back
think.
7.
Yep.
Yeah, and because the linebacking spot is so important. I mean, you were looking at, even though the Bucks got beat up by the Saints on Sunday night, you looked at their 4 linebackers and you're like, holy crap! They got White, Pierre-Paul,
David.
Barrett, and David. Like, holy crap! I wish we had one of those guys, let alone 4 of them. So that's why we definitely need some help. And look, Basham is a keeper, no question. He had another 2.5 tackles for loss. He's definitely, and as we've talked about before, these players are going to look even better when you put really good players aside to them, like C.J. Mosley. Let's not forget that C.J. Mosley is coming back next year, so he is going to be a big upgrade. Now he's a middle linebacker guy. That's going to be his role. Whether or not it's going to be a 3-4-4-3, bottom line is he's going to be an inside guy. We just definitely need more edge guys. But Basham's play will definitely, go up when he has C.J. Mosley instead of Neville Hewitt as his linebacker mate, because it was Lange who basically took the snaps from Williamson, and Lange made a few plays, but he also made. This is getting old now. Watching, first it was Jenkins, and now it's Lange, where they're about to sack these quarterbacks, and Josh Allen and Cam Newton are just basically, get off of me. And that has to stop. We have to get linebackers that are not going to say, get off of me anymore. Okay. Oh, by the way, McDougal's injury, I at this point, I don't even want to see him again. So keep him out.
Okay.
Let him go, because Ashton Davis hopefully is our guy. I don't want him taking up Ashton Davis.
He is.
Snaps.
Like I said, you're playing him and Hall 80% of the snaps, at least probably right now moving forward, at least, if not more.
And Owasu should be back soon. I haven't heard anything when he's going to be coming back. So let's see what he does when he gets an opportunity to play too. Okay, getting back to the game, and let's see. End of the first half, 56 seconds left, and you're figuring, all right, we can get into field goal range, kick a field goal. Flacco hits Mims for 15, and then he hits Perryman for a 42-yard pass interference call on McCourty to the New England 20, and then he hits Crowder. Perfect pass, great catch to get the feed in by Crowder for the touchdown, and the Jets were up 20-10 at the half. Joe Flacco showed you that he, especially when he'll get, no question, I don't see any reason why Morgan is still young. I see no reason why. Again, this all depends on if this is going to be the coaching staff, and even if it is, who the number one quarterback is going to be. But Flacco, I don't have a problem with him being the backup again next year. Keep Morgan as your developmental guy for another year. But Flacco, I think when we have even better talent, looks like he can do a pretty decent job for us as a stopgap guy if we have an injury for a week or two.
Flacco can always throw the deep ball. It's the other passes that have been more challenging for him this year, and the last couple of years. So him throwing the bomb didn't come as a big surprise. Clearly, he'll know the offense. He'll be able to learn the offense. He's a veteran presence. He's a guy you can plug in if necessary. And if there is a regime change, either coaching or quarterback, having a veteran guy back there to kind of help marshal the rest of the team forward is not a bad idea either.
Yeah, because he'll either be the backup for Darnold or hopefully Trevor Lawrence. Because that was the other thing with the Jets losing, because it was tough to see Jacksonville not successfully get the 2-point conversion against Houston and go to overtime and possibly win that game. And the Jets would have been in a nice position, because that's what we want to be in. We want to be in a 2-game cushion so we can root for the team to win a game, and they will. I mean, as long as they're healthy. That's what we've been talking about. This is what we've been talking about all season. If they're healthy, they'll win some games, but we just got to make sure that they can stay healthy. And I'm only talking about, of course, so we don't have a 0-16 record. But the bad thing is Jacksonville's schedule is really tough. It's very unlikely Jacksonville is going to win more than one more game with the schedule they have. So
agreed.
Any more wins the Jets have, if the Jets have 2 wins, that we're going to have to mathematically hope that we get the first pick.
And strength of schedule is going to be the difference maker.
And I don't know. Well, and what is that? They go by a strength of schedule, so that might be a good thing then, right? Or a bad thing?
I think. Well, again,
how does that work?
If you're projected, if you have a lower, I have to go back and look. I thought it was if you have a lower strength of schedule, you finish behind because you were expected to win a certain number of games. But I'd have to go back and look kind of what the permutations are. But look, right now, it sounds weird to say they control their own destiny, but they control their own destiny.
They do. All right, so the Jets get another big drive. That was they had 3 big catches by Perryman, including the touchdown to go up 27-17. That was the last score. But this is a really good game for Perryman. It was not. Wasn't it nice to see the 3 guys out there? Crowder didn't have it. He didn't do much except, of course, having a great touchdown catch, which was awesome. But Mims as well. Another week to show and to prove that he looks like the real deal. Stay healthy, and we've got a good one. And Perryman, look, he's not going to do this every week, but don't forget what he did at the last 2 stops in the second half of the season. He had these types of games a lot. So, but it didn't give him a big payday. So I think even if he plays pretty well the rest of the season, I see it might be the Jets get lucky and sign him for a 1-year deal again. Because Perryman's probably, because that means he hasn't proven himself to get a big deal. The Jets will go, okay, we'll give you another 1-year deal. And if you prove it this year and stay healthy the whole year, then, we could talk about a big contract. So I think that might work out, because I definitely, until we find another receiver, having Perryman on the field with Mims, that works for me.
Well, it helps also having Crowder in the slot, right?
Yes.
So, as you said, the 3 guys being together. And look, we didn't talk after the press conference, I don't think, but it was interesting to see here Joe Douglas say he misread the market when it came to Anderson, right? I think he thought he was going to get a lot more. So the downside is they lost Anderson when they could have had him. The flip side is now hopefully Douglas has a better sense of how to read the marketplace, which could make a difference here. I mean, it was great to see the receivers do well. Like I said before, we still haven't seen anything from Chris Herndon at all, which is very disconcerting. And on the flip side, the other piece of the puzzle that was really not particularly good was the rushing attack was fairly pedestrian at best.
Well, they did pretty well. Run the ball. They did well early enough. I mean, they ran the ball early, and we got to remember they ran the ball when Becton was there. Yep. And then Becton left, and then there went their major advantage. But they still scored 27 points. By the way, Perine played 1 less snap than Gore. He did run the ball more than Perine did, but I was surprised to actually hear Brian Costello stick up or read that Brian Costello stuck up I guess, sticking up for for Gase. If anybody was wondering why Gore had more carries than Pirine, because of the fact that second half was supposed to be apparently the way the Jets want to run their offense is Gore's their first half back, Pirine's their second half back, and Pirine will eventually end up with more carries or more opportunities. But the Jets only had the ball twice in the second half or something like that, 3 times,
something like that, three times. I mean, the last drive they were trying to obviously see if they get into field goal range, but and they were also trying to run some clock in the fourth quarter. So you can kind of understand a little bit going with Gore, but from an explosiveness perspective, Pirine would probably give them a better shot of making to milk the clock, right, and eking out extra yards. Though Gore is clearly much better in terms of securing the ball, especially if you're protecting a lead. Though,
well, Pirine didn't get an opportunity to run behind Becton.
Nope, not at all.
So that's
he had 6 carries, I think, for 18 yards, if I remember correctly, Pirine in the game. So not many opportunities at all.
The only rookies that didn't see playing time were Morgan and Clark. And Clark is getting back to being healthy too, which means I think we're going to see him on the field without a doubt. I think Clark will be on the field. But it was nice to see, until Becton went out, it was nice to see the starting 5 offensive linemen again. But then Becton went out again. So, but it was temporary. You know, if you looked at it, for the first time all season, they had, except for Flacco, of course, because we still haven't got 100% of our starters. But if Darnold was playing in the game, we would have had our complete offense for the first time this season. So that was nice.
Would be nice.
Yeah, and Darnold. Yeah, let's get into Darnold now. So I did not like what I heard from Gase in the press conference last week before the game. This was the one that we still weren't sure, but we kind of got the hint that at this press conference that Darnold wasn't going to play after this. And that was because Sam Darnold decided he was going to tell the truth. And there's a fine line between young players. We go through this with all our sports teams. We always want our athletes to tell the truth, because it's not good when they don't tell the truth, because then they can get hit in an area if they just would have told the truth, then it would have averted a season-long injury. So I completely understand all of that. What I'm looking at is from a Sam Darnold perspective. If I'm Sam Darnold and I'm in New York, I clearly know what's going on. I clearly know what's going on with Lawrence, and this is my last chance to show whether or not I can win games. Because if you're Sam Darnold, if you play and win games and help the team win games and you play well, you're killing 10 birds with one stone. Because you win games, that means you're not going to get the first pick, which means Trevor Lawrence ain't going to get here. And if Trevor Lawrence is here, you have a much better chance of being the quarterback next year. But Sam Darnold instead decided to tell the truth. So let's get the clip from Adam Gase last week.
He was just being honest with us. I don't feel the way I felt the last time I was getting ready when he was coming back from this. And where he made the throws, he didn't have discomfort. For whatever reason, I don't think the throws were coming out. I mean, they looked fine to me on some of those throws, but I think they felt he didn't feel right, or he was trying to throw a ball a certain way and it just didn't feel the way that he thought it should.
So the throws looked fine to me, but they didn't feel right. And so basically, all Sam had to do was say, I feel good. I'm ready to go. And he would have played on Monday night. And I don't know if that's what I tell you the truth. And under this circumstance, with everything I laid out, his career is on the line with this organization, and he opted out. I have a little bit of a problem with that.
I disagree with you. So, and I'll tell you why. So you just said you want your athletes to be truthful, right? Look, Darnold probably shouldn't have been playing a week ago, in my opinion. He probably played hurt, right? And there's a difference between playing injured with injury and when you're hurt, right? There's a subtle line between the two of them, right? He clearly must have felt something throwing the ball, right? I mean, whether or not the throws look like they're coming out right, if he's feeling something when he throws and he's worried about either further injuring it or not being able to do the job offensively, then he's probably right to call it out, because Flacco could actually step in and play. And look, you want your quarterback to be a tough guy, right? All quarterbacks want to be tough guys, but we also need quarterbacks at times who are smart. Look, the thing we talk about a lot is, and it's a much different situation. So I realize I'm comparing apples and oranges. I'm going to take you way, way back in the time machine to the Eric Mangini days, right? Brett Favre, coming off a huge win against New England, has got a bum shoulder. But because he wants to keep his streak alive, he doesn't say a word and plays 5 games with a bum shoulder. That cost the Jets a playoff opportunity and cost Eric Mangini his job. Whereby then, if he had just said something and missed a game or two, he likely would have been fine for down the stretch, and it might have been a different season. Granted, much different scenario. But there's a situation where a quarterback, because the type of quarterback he was and his history, didn't say a word. This is a situation where, yeah, look, the easy thing for him to do would maybe to say something because he doesn't want to lose his job. But he's also recognizing that he's playing with an injury or hurt. And if he plays with it, he has a more likely chance of re-aggravating it, forcing him to sit out more time. You can view that as you will. I view it as a quarterback who's being honest with his coach and telling him what's going on. You could view it that he's basically taking a pass in terms of fighting for his job and letting things happen to him. It all depends on your perspective on this one.
Well, I think it's interesting that you bring up Favre because Favre's a Hall of Famer. And that's, again, I'm not saying that I completely disagree with what he's doing because I just said it. I mean, I want my future of my teams to speak the truth. I've seen way too many circumstances where they lie, and then I get so pissed off. Why did you lie? If you would have just told them the truth, you would have missed a couple weeks. Big deal. You're here the whole season. So I get all that. And I'm not really even saying that I think he did anything wrong to that perspective because I do believe in it. I'm just saying that on the other hand, he's acting like the type of quarterback or the type of player that I just don't think fits here. I just don't. I think that's part of the problem. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with him. I'm trying to figure out why is he not. They say he looks good in practice. Second year in the system. All right, lineman and all right, we heard all that, but there's something wrong. There's something missing, and he is from California. This is the whole reason why, we got to go back to this USC thing with Mark Sanchez and Sam Darnold. This is the whole reason why people talk about stuff like that. About, do you really want to bring this California kids in here? They're not mentally tough like us, Northeastern guys. It was just the timing of it, knowing everything. It's just something that just bothered me.
Look, I can understand the view. I don't know if because he's a USC guy. Look, we talk about Trevor Lawrence, who's a Clemson guy. I don't know if I consider him a Northerner. In terms of he ends up being the guy, right?
And he's got the surfer hair anyway.
Darnold has taken a ton of shots and popped back up and tried to play. Look,
nobody's questioning his toughness.
In week 1, right? So again, look, I don't have the right answer here. I think he was trying to do the right thing by the team, and look, I think also the right thing by him, because his concern was if he played again and aggravated the injury, that could set him back even further and cause further issues down the road. And look, maybe if they were 7-1 and not 0-7 or 0-8, he may have had a different view. That's also quite possible. Record might have played a part in it, but Darnold has been pretty above board, right? He said about wanting to play previously with the injury and them forcing him to sit out. So my view is, in this case, if he's feeling something and it's definitely impacting him to the point where he just doesn't think that the throws are coming out right, or it doesn't feel right throwing the ball, he probably made a wise call telling people it would have been easier for him to not to say anything and play through it. And then if he has a problem during the game, then come out. And then we find out afterwards that he played through an injury that he probably should have said something about.
The other thing is that as a fan, it's just getting old. It's like, dude, stay healthy, man. I mean, whether you get, and I called out the training staff last week, and I think they were to blame. And I think the NFL needs to go through a complete look at training staffs in the NFL after what happened this year. And I know it was different. I get it. With not being able, and by the way, there is a chance that we're going to go through this again now. And they better not have the same off season. They better make sure, because they put all these things into place. Keep them into place again. Just rookies, you come to your regular mini camps. You're going to go through the same protocols that everyone went through, but you better not shut down stuff for a couple of months again. That better not happen, because that's just not good for the sport. But anyway, getting back to Darnold, that's the thing. It's just it gets to you, because it's like, dude, everyone else is healthy. You said you were feeling good a few days ago. Now, I mean, it's like, and then 2 days ago, and then yesterday, and then the last possible day that we're supposed to find out if you're going to play or not. Now you're opting out. Now you got a problem again. It's just so aggravating. That's where I get aggravated.
Can't disagree with you.
Instead of sitting around and doing nothing but point the finger at Adam Gase every week on stuff. It's just so boring. This is what I get aggravated at. I want to see these guys play.
The coaches, you don't get rid of 53 players. You get rid of the coach first. You know that.
I'm just saying that's the easy way out. This is what I get aggravated.
But again,
I want to see these guys play because I want to see the coaches get evaluated properly. I can't. I just want these guys to play so badly.
How many teams are fully healthy? It's rare.
No, yeah, but I'm talking about one player. I'm talking about the one guy that can't keep healthy.
Right. Obviously, with Perriman, Crowder, Mims, Herndon, and then whenever you play a running back, and then hopefully Becton healthy, yes, you'd want to evaluate the offense and your quarterback based on the ability for him to play with the wide range of talent that he has on that team, right? As opposed to playing shorthanded, you'll probably finally have a shot at playing with a full complement to get a really strong evaluation and a real fit evaluation, as opposed to, well, he's missing this guy. So now I got to evaluate him based upon who's there and who's not there, as opposed to, okay, we now have the full complement of players we're supposed to have. Let's see what he can do with them. And if he fails, that gives us a better chance. Or if he succeeds, that may alter our mindset. We don't know if we're ever going to get there. The hope is after the bye week, if Becton's healthy and everything else, you should hopefully have everybody ready for that first game.
Yes, everybody should be. You're right. Unless there's a setback, another injury somewhere during practice, we should have as healthy as a team as we've had all season against the Chargers. We should have. And that's going to be it, really. If you look at it, what's the Chargers, the Dolphins, and what's the other team we're playing in there that's beatable? Chargers, Dolphins, and there's another team. Because everyone else that we're going to play, probably not going to have a chance at beating. But Chargers, we obviously, if Darnold is healthy and everybody's healthy, Becton and so forth, I think we have a good chance to beat the Chargers. So
if it's like every other Charger game, it should be a 1 to 3 point game.
It'll go down to the wire.
Last play of the game.
Yes, and if it's up to a field goal, Castillo has been a bright spot.
Has looked good. Yeah, he's looked good. No
question. So it's nice to have 2 field goal kickers now when we weren't sure we had one when the season began. Right. So that's a good thing. West goes on IR, so that has been a bust for sure at this point so far. He hasn't done much.
Tight ends have not had a particularly strong year this year for us.
No. So he hasn't really worked into the offense at all. Tight ends unless Herndon turns it on, that's going to be a position of need. We talked about Clark. Quincy Wilson was also cut, so that I think we're at the point now where Joe Douglas can sit down with Rex Hogan and say, dude, it's over. Okay.
The pipeline, the spigot is closed. Go elsewhere.
All right. I'm not trading, or I'll pick up guys off the trash heap, but I ain't giving any more collateral to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, because that hasn't worked out. And they did pick up Saquon Hampton this past week. He's somebody to keep an eye on the practice squad. He's a safety, also from Rutgers. Tenzel Smart played. He was a practice squad player, and he got an opportunity to play too. So we'll see. And Travis Ross also got a few snaps at tight end, so he got an opportunity to play. And it would also be nice to get Lawrence Cager back in there.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that happens after the bye week. So.
Yeah. But look, it was nice. It was refreshing. It was refreshing that most of the guys were healthy. It was also nice that they played as well as they did without Quinnen Williams, without C.J. Mosley, and without Sam Darnold. So I think that
and without Becton for 3
and without
quarters of the game.
Becton for 3/4. So that's very promising. And this is the hopefully if everybody stays healthy the rest of the season, this will give us something to shoot for every week. All right, Jan.
Yep, agreed.
Appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks after the
2
Charger
weeks,
game,
yep.
right? Chargers.
Correct. Yep.
Where is that? In LA, right?
I think it's LA. Yep.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jan.
No worries. Thanks.